Deep within a bleak and dismal swamp, hidden beneath its murky waters, lies the headquarters of the most sinister villains of all time, the Legion of Doom.
Cool. It's still just us. Hey, everybody who's watching on the replay. You know, we're doing a late show, but honestly, this is just an excuse for me and Dom to hang out. You know, I'm glad he was cool with me pushing it yesterday because it sounds weird to say we had a last minute Disney emergency. I know that doesn't seem like a real thing, but essentially my wife was like, I was like, hey, what day should I do a live stream? And she goes, oh, do it Tuesday. I'll go to Disneyland with a friend. And then her friend, I guess her friend, we're not going to say names here because it's not like her friend watches, but her friend bails on her a lot, and her friend bailed on her, or she was sick. We don't know. Peace and love if she was sick. But the way Disney works is you can't cancel day of because they've reserved a spot for you, which is a ticket that they couldn't sell. And if you miss too many, they block you from going. And we've already missed one. You get 3 strikes. So I was like, we don't live far away from Disney. We live like 10 minutes unless there's traffic. But, you know, she didn't want to go by herself, which is fair. It's a lot going through parking lot, security, all that stuff. So I was like, look, I'll just drive you, walk in, scan in, get a churro. And then I was like, wait, I should just reschedule the live stream. You know, Dom gave me, yesterday, so we went in, we ate an ice cream cone, people watched, and then we left. It was a nice chill date.
Did you not ride anything in the park?
Nope.
Yeah, that's how I know you're like legit pass holders. It's like, I'm on that like gear, just I'm there to watch. Have my favorite
for us, we like to go through the merch shops and judge it and go like, is this year's Halloween button up better than last year's?
I love that.
And like, honestly, like it's an excuse for us to like plan an outfit. So I was wearing Disneyland Halloween Crocs. I bought this Disney Villains button-up shirt for when I review the Dynamite Disney Villains comics. So it has like Maleficent and like like Hades on it and stuff. So it was the perfect shirt. We literally went in, judged the merch, got ice cream, and we were like, hey, we could go on a ride or we could go home and buy the new Twisters movie and watch Twisters.
How was that? Was that good?
We loved it, dude. So I've always been into movies and things like that. And when I was feeling really burnt out from comics a few months ago, I was looking for a new hobby. And we have a 3-bedroom place, and it's just us, right? So before we had a guest room, my room with my comic books, and there we go. Thank you. Merch judging is a really underrated hobby. And it was bad before, because before I used to think I had to get the New Year's merch otherwise it was like, I don't want to be the guy with last year's Halloween shirt. But then I realized there's a free version where you can say, oh, my version is better than the new version, and then you don't spend any money.
Yeah.
So merch judging, it's the best hobby. And I got an ice cream cone that had 2 little Mickey Mouse ears of chocolate chip cookies.
I think my wife's gotten that before. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a churro guy myself.
Yes.
I guess we both have the novelty of living in Southern California. So Disney speak is definitely a vernacular I understand in our house. Yeah, go ahead.
I almost visited you at Disney, but here's what happened. My debit card, or someone hacked my PlayStation Network account, which I didn't even know was a thing. So they took over my account, got all my digital games, and bought a bunch of like games on my debit card and stuff. And of course they did it on a Friday. So I'm trying to call on the weekend and they're closed. So I canceled my debit card and I had to get a new one, right? And I didn't switch over my Disney payment. My cat just walked in. So the day I was gonna visit you at Disney, I realized I hadn't made my payment to my Disney Pass that month. So I was blocked out, and I was like, well, guess I'm not visiting Dom today.
Dang. Well, hey, it worked out. We ended up having a good family day. I'm trying to even remember when that was.
It was your son's birthday, I think, right?
Oh yeah, okay. So that was in July. Yeah, that worked out. But cool, man.
So we were talking about the 1980s Thing movie right before we started. And I went in blind to that movie. I had no idea what it was about. Like, I just knew my only experience with, there we go. My wife's watching. What? Watching the cat open the door and hearing it in real time was hilarious.
Oh,
nice. I can't tell if she ever pops in to be supportive or to make sure I don't buy anything on stream. I think that's That's maybe her.
I respect that.
Yeah. So the thing, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and it was one of the first movies we watched in our new home theater that we got to build. So that's what we did. We turned one of our rooms into like a projector screen, and we went like all out with it.
That's goals. I bought like a $200 kind of cheapy projector, but I did some research and it could output at 1080p, which I'm like, for a projector, that's all I really need. And it was like $200. And then I also bought like a huge collapsible like screen, like that has like a tripod leg, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I bought it like years ago. I bought it before we had our kids, and I bought it because I'm super into like old cartoons, like the 20s through like the 50s or 60s, you know? So like the old like Looney Tunes and Silly Symphonies and
so you go older than I do. I like 80s cartoons, 70s cartoons, 60s. Like we almost always go to bed with Scooby-Doo, but you're going older than me.
Yeah, and like that era is also really good, but I love the era that they were like shorts before theatrical releases, those kind of things. Like Looney Tunes is probably my gold standard, but man, there's so many good ones, like the Tom and Jerry stuff, or like all the shorts from Tex Avery are pretty fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Popeye. But anyway, I bought this projector because I wanted to watch like I wanted to like kick it off with like Steamboat Willie, like the classic Mickey Mouse short. I wanted it like projectored, Anyway, kind of like a sidebar, but
no, that's fun.
It's fun.
What was cool, so my wife had a projector from back in the day, and what was cool about it is it could project in like the widescreen mode, and it also had a 4x5 mode. So when you're watching the old cartoons, it actually took up the whole screen. And my new projector doesn't have that feature, but that was so cool to watch like those old square cartoons and have it be giant. This is a good question. So how do we feel about the DC All-In event? Have you researched that at all? Have you been hearing about it?
So I've been hearing murmurs about it, but admittedly, I'm a bit behind with DC. Is this the same thing that has the Batman? Or no, that's Absolute Batman, right? The one that has
that's related to it. So
I've heard
All
parts
In,
of this.
Yeah. So All In is the new initiative, which is like, it sounds like they're trying to do like Marvel's Ultimate Universe, which is have your own separate universe, which is like one thing for them. But they're also having all their new comics or their current comics. They're not rebooting them, so they're going to continue, and they're just going to have new jumping on points. So it could be, if you haven't been reading Batman, now you can start with the Batman comic that's been going since 2016 and have a new place to start, or you can go into the Absolute Universe, which is kind of like their Ultimate Universe. So it's different interpretations of characters. So there's going to be Absolute Wonder Woman by Kelly Thompson, which looks incredible. I can pull up some images, but she's got like this giant sword here. I'll pull up some images.
I've seen the main trinity of characters. Like I love all the character models for the most part. I know the Batman one's getting some controversy for the logo, but I was aware of that stuff. I just didn't know about the rest of All In.
Yeah. I saw Scott Snyder tweeted, every time you complain, it gets 5% bigger. the logo. So here, I'll show you some images. So this is Absolute Wonder Woman. Look at her sword, dude. So this looks wild. So we're getting Absolute Wonder Woman by Kelly Thompson, and then Absolute Superman is Jason Aaron, and
that's a fun one. I didn't realize he was on Superman. That's great,
right? And the thing about Absolute Superman is this is a Superman who doesn't have a home, so he was never raised in Kansas, and I think, see how his like cape is kind of like, looks like there's something coming off of it. Apparently, it's made of the dust of Kryptonians or something like that, like something. Just absolute wild. So this is going to be like an alien Superman.
I think that is going to be good. I'm a little concerned hearing the premise because I kind of like my Superman as, straight down the line as possible, as far as like, I like my Superman when he feels like the quintessential, truth, justice, and the American way kind of Superman, I'm a little nervous about didn't have a stable home Superman,
I'm the same way. I'm so tired of what if Superman was evil? Because like that's not groundbreaking anymore. We've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
But I am interested in seeing, like, does this mean, like, what about a Superman that doesn't view himself as a human first? You know, if he views himself as a Kryptonian first, that could be cool. So essentially what they're doing is on this side right here, you have the current DC universe continuing on without a reboot at new jumping on points. On the other side, you have this all-in universe, and in the middle, you have Darkseid. So Darkseid realizes there's this new absolute universe, and
okay,
I don't know if there's going to be a crisis where they have to like cross over together, but essentially, it's supposed to be like a fresh take on a character. So I think we have Jeff Lemire is doing Flash, which could be super cool.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't remember who else there is. If anybody else remembers, but yeah, so it's new jumping on points for the character. So my thing is, I think it could be really cool. But I hope that they don't cross over the absolute universe with the regular universe too quickly. Like, let it stand on its own, tell your own story, and as long as it's not too edgy, like I don't want a Superman or a Batman that are like edgy and modern. I just want them to be interesting stories, you know.
I think ultimately,
yes, exactly. They have a better attitude than New 52.
I think ultimately, if it's good storytelling, good characters, I kind of don't care if it's gritty and edgy. My preference is that, right? Because I even struggled with New 52 like action comics, like the Morrison era, just because in like the New 52 Superman you just mentioned, like he was just kind of like, at least in the beginning, he was kind of like a little surly, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's not my favorite flavor of Superman. You know?
Yeah,
the
Morrison Superman was very like influenced by the golden age. You know what I mean? Like he was a little underpowered. He wasn't like, but he didn't like his attitude just wasn't the best.
And I'm kind of like,
Oh, keep going. Yeah, go. What were you saying?
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like I didn't finish Morrison's Action Comics just because I was kind of turned off by how his Superman approached stuff. Like I think that kind of attitude I see more often with like Superboy or like those kind of characters. So it was kind of, that kind of threw me off. So it'll be interesting, but I trust Jason Aaron and I am excited to see what he does, like we know he can handle like almost mythic super level characters like we've seen like in this Thor run or like I love what he does with science fiction. Like I loved his Star Wars run and I definitely trust him. It'll just be interesting to see what he does. I didn't realize that was the premise of his Superman run, but I think that'll definitely lead to some cool like nature versus nurture debates, but then we also have like Superman Red Sun, which was not, too dissimilar. Like he lands in Soviet Russia or whatever, but
that was also Superman that was a little surly, right?
Yeah. That one was kind of fun. I like that as like an Elseworld story though. So, we'll see. I'm excited to check it out. I think it'll be really fun. But
Red Sun has never been in print since I've been a comic book reader. So my only experience with it was the animated movie, but we're getting that in an absolute edition and I can't wait.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was out of print. I have just like the paperback.
Yeah, dude, the deluxe goes for like over $100 now. Like
I believe it.
It's been out of print for a long time. So let's check out some of the comments. So my first appearance to Kelly Thompson has been digging her Black Widow. Yeah, dude, that Black Widow, the first trade does something that I like my jaw. I've never read Black Widow before, but my jaw was open and my heart was ripped from my chest. I literally emailed that to her. I was like, hey, like, because I'm going to be doing an interview with her soon. And she goes, I wouldn't be able to, thank you. I wouldn't be able to meet until October. And I said, it's okay. It gives me more time to read more of your work. Currently having my heart ripped out of my chest from your Black Widow run. So, I was like trying to explain to my wife what happens. And it's just so shocking, dude.
I think I was sharing just before the live, but I've been reading this from Kelly Thompson recently. I definitely recommend what I've read so far. This is her run on Captain Marvel. Really fun. And I think it's a really good jumping on point for the character. I'm like a newer Captain Marvel reader, but I've read, bits and pieces. But so far, Thompson's run is really fun, honestly. And the art throughout the collection so far has been really great.
I've been really impressed with her work. So I read, like I said, Birds of Prey, and that one was interesting because I had to go to Target to buy it because it's one of those Target exclusives where if you want the hardcover, you have to get it from Target. But I thought it was a lot of fun. And we got my friend Clint, a fellow absolute collector, saying Wonder Woman looks fire. not sure about Batman. Maybe it'll grow on me. I've been hearing bits and pieces of it. Like every part of his suit is a weapon. And the thing about Batman is he's supposed to be more like, instead of like a rich millionaire, like he's more like street level, like a blue collar Batman, like more of a brawler. But you know, I don't know. People are so passionate one way or the other about these, and no one's read anything. So it's like,
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a believer in like, let's read it first before we make any kind of judgments, you know, like it's fun to speculate, I guess, but I'm excited to see what they roll out. I'm definitely interested in those main three. But we'll see. I'm more of a Marvel guy, but I definitely have a lot of love for DC. So
I'm the opposite. I see all those beautiful Marvel omnis on your shelf back there. So Lemire's father-son tropes are perfect for the Flash. And then let them cook in their own universe before any cross actions.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing a read through of New 52 in issue 5 of all series. Wait, so are you reading one issue of each character at a time? Because that's intense.
An undertaking.
That is
any favorites so far, even 5 issues in, anything kind of simmer to the surface?
Yeah, and you can skip the Red Hood and the Outlaws. It doesn't get good until Rebirth. I'm just saying that now. Hot take. So the only Supes character I'm liking is Supergirl. Superboy feels non-existent as Teen Titans. And then hello, Kyle of Comics 87. So do you have any new recent pickups? I got a little box from our sponsors at Organic Price Books today.
And nice. What do you get?
If you're buying 1 or 3 books, you can save $2 with the code Braveboys, or 4 or more Braveboyssit. Okay, so was surprised this got here so quickly because I didn't expect to get it for a while because they were moving.
They're just that good, just that professional.
Right? even when they're going from one warehouse to the other, you know, they've been taking care of me. So this was a fun little collection of books. So first off, I got The Flash by William Messner Loeb.
Very cool.
I have not read any of this, and it will add to my Flash collection. It'll be my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll be my 7th Flash omnibus.
Awesome.
And so I'm getting close to being able to do a top 10 Flash. You know, I just got to get 10 Flash omnis, and then I do top 10 Flash omnis, right?
You're going to nail it. It's going to be perfect.
Right? That's how it goes. And then this is one I was very excited about. I got Once in Future slipcase number 2. So have you read any Once in Future? I know you've been kind of on a horror hiatus. It's not super bad horror.
I'm really a big fan of all things literature. Once in Future was definitely on my radar. It's how I got introduced to Dan Mora. I read the first.
Dan Mora art is just incredible.
I think eventually I'm going to spring for these. Maybe not the slipcase, but at least the hardcover. I've read the first 3 trade paperbacks, which I think is roughly the volume 1 that got released. So I have to read basically the contents of that book in your hand to finish it out. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought the art was fantastic. I loved all the throwbacks to like Arthurian legend and lore, and you know some other stuff I won't spoil.
But I would read if Dan Mora decided to do a graphical interpretation of the phone book. I would read it. You know what I mean? Like Dan Mora is just that good. But here we got Javier Hernandez saying, "Don't know if you remember me, but we chatted in the chat of an Omnidog Live, and I was talking about DC Compact Editions, which I have all of them so far. I just recently picked up Batman Hush and Wonder Woman, so that's fun for that. Just wanted to say I bought Batman Court of Owls, and I loved it. Dude, that is an awesome book. That was on my list of the best like place to start Batman, and I'm so happy that the compact editions were a affordable entry level for you, man. So that's rad. I would say my next 2 favorite of the absolute editions would be All-Star Superman or Hush. I don't recommend Watchmen because Watchmen is so text heavy that it's not great in the compact edition. And then I got a couple more books almost done. I got the Robin Compendium.
Oh, sick. The Tim Drake book.
Yep. I've never read any of this stuff, but I'm one of the few readers who actually like my hill that or die on is I love compendiums because they were there for me when I couldn't afford omnis. And
I'm like that with just small trade paperbacks or the
right.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to read this, and I love Robin stuff. Then I got Nightwing Year 1, the Dan Mora cover, which I really wanted. So don't tell Amazon, but I'm returning my non-Dan Mora cover to Amazon.
There you go.
I needed it for a video. And then my last book is a new Absolute edition that was a whale of mine. Arkham Asylum. So that means I can do a giveaway for my deluxe edition. Scariest art I've ever seen in a Batman book. It is objectively terrifying.
It is horrifying.
But this means I'm only 2 absolutes away from completing my set, and I now have every Batman absolute. So that was fun.
Well, then you're due for an every Batman absolute video, right?
I might be filming it tomorrow.
Get it?
And it's like, okay, that's a good question. So, what do you not consider a Batman absolute? So, let me hit you with some questions. Is Superman Batman? Is Superman Batman? Is that a Batman absolute?
I'm the wrong person for this just because I don't have absolutes and I'm pretty.
No, I know, but I'm saying like I don't know what to classify as a Batman absolute. So is a Batman absolute mean it's a Batman title or Batman's in the book? Like if you were a viewer,
I would say,
and you wanted to watch every Batman absolute, how far do I go? So
I go who's in the title, right? Okay. So like Justice League, I'm gonna say no, but Batman and Superman, I'd probably say yeah. Okay. That's where I'd probably go.
And then what about 3 Jokers?
That's Batman for sure. 100%.
Okay, but he's not in the title. I was going
but that's
rules.
Like, I think that that's fair. Okay, let me probably clarify that. I think any non-obvious Batman book, the title rule applies for me.
Okay, here's where it gets weird though. Would you consider Dark Knight's Metal a Batman absolute or non-Batman? Because Batman is the protagonist in that book, but it's also not a Batman book.
I would probably lean no, but I am not. Like I said, these aren't hills I die on. I'm thinking like logistically how I would.
You're not going to be in the comment bullying me, going like, "Oh my god, how could you?" Like, because like for me, for instance, I have all my Batman absolutes together, but I don't put 3. I put 3 Jokers next to Luthor Joker absolute because that's kind of like my Joker section. But you're right, it's a Batman book.
I think what you have it's just fine though, obviously.
Right. That's why I'm stressing. But honestly, if I make people mad in the video, that's just more comments. So comment and tell me I'm right. Comment and tell me I'm wrong. I'll take all the comments, please.
I've actually said it before. I have yet to do a full tour video of my collection, which isn't crazy. I only have like 2 or 3 shelves. But the reason I've held off is because my organization is ridiculous. Like I had a way in my brain they were organized once upon a time, but now I don't think they make any discernible sense except for to me. So like initially I had it like by format and then character, and I did it in like descending order of characters I was interested in, which is already kind of a weird way to do it. But then from there, it kind of became like, how many Omnis fit on this shelf? Okay, not enough, so I'll move this over here. And now everything is just like a jumbled. Anyway, it's just crazy. So like my whole thing is, do I film? I kind of promised that I would film a tour video before the end of the year on my channel, but I'm kind of like, do I just film as is, or do I take time to kind of get it more organized? Just because I know the comments are gonna like trigger people.
Film as is and tell them you want to organize. Take all the comments of suggestions, and then you film an updated down the line after taking their suggestions. Be a YouTuber, maximize the content.
There you go. I like that.
Everything, But
we heard it here first. That might be what I have to do.
I'm completely out of. I don't have a single room for books. So today I realized I have to start putting books. I have to make 2 levels of books on my Calyx. Like to put something like so. The books that I'm not as big of a fan of have to go behind and hide away until I get more shelves.
That's always a sad day in the book collector journey, right? Or like, okay, you're going to the far reaches. I can't see your face anymore.
Please,
you're going to the back.
Why am I imagining a Toy Story scenario where the book is like, it's like what the books are alive when I'm not in the room, and they're like,
those ones are the sad ones.
Let's try to catch up on some of the chats. So we got our friend at Fifth of Jack. I enjoyed Once and Future. I pre-ordered the deluxe to go with volume 1. Not a huge slipcase person. That is fair. I don't know if this is the case, but a lot of people online are saying that their orders, and I'm not sure about OPB, but they were saying for other places, but the non-slipcase version was delayed. And that seems so weird to me, how a slipcase version wouldn't be delayed, but the non-slipcase version would be. But I don't know how any of this stuff works. I Vampire is great. Amazing Sorrentino art. All-Star Western is entertaining. Great art. Red Lanterns is interesting. That omnibus got me a free hamburger last week. I think I'll be getting the omnibus. So someone in I think it was on a Luminardi stream that we did with OmniDog. Someone was like, "Hey, if Red Lanterns ever gets an omnibus, I'll buy the 3 of you burgers." And then literally the next day, the very next day,
that's hysterical. That's when they had the leaks of all the omnibuses or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was nice enough. His name was Booster Green. He was nice enough to give me a Five Guys gift card. And
that's awesome.
It was fantastic.
Tagging up to the really quick, tagging up to that last commenter. It's so funny you said iVampire. For some reason, when I heard that comment that you were reading through all that new 52 stuff, I was like, oh, what hidden gems are we going to get? And in my brain, I thought about iVampire. I sold what I had of that run a while ago, but that art was incredible. And the first like 2 volumes of the paperback for me were like really fun. I remember being so surprised by that because I knew nothing about that franchise or the history of that comic, but I remember just being blown away by that. So it's cool to see other people that liked it.
Dude, I've literally never even heard of iVampire before.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't realize that was the artist because that's an artist I've come to know from other things now. But now that they say that, like, I'm like, of course that's their art. Like I look at it and I see it in my head. But yeah, really cool stuff.
So we have Javier saying, I want to purchase All-Star. Okay, so my question then is, would you say if he was to buy his second compact edition, what story do you like better, Hush or All-Star Superman?
Oh man, that's a tough
one. I know
one.
That's a brutal choice.
I know it's an obvious choice for me, but like as a global recommendation, that's where I'm stopping.
So tell me why it's an obvious choice to you, and I'm interested into why. Is it like you feel strongly about that, or?
Yeah, so this is just my immediate knee-jerk reactions. For me, Batman Hush is one of my goats. Like I would go to that first, no questions, because the artwork we get from Jim Lee in Batman Hush is my favorite comic book art of all time. Full stop. That is my favorite I've ever seen.
You don't think this does it justice? It does not do it justice. I know.
Well, I mean, you're doing the flashback pages, but yeah.
Okay. What about this one? Sorry.
I hear you.
I didn't plan that, but yes. I didn't. I imagine if I did though, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Honestly, gun to my head, I forgot Hush had flashbacks. So
yeah. Yeah, and like I mean, those flashback scenes are still beautiful, but it's like when we get like the full color, everything's like high saturated and glossy and pretty. I love the artwork in that book. I'm such a huge Jeff Loeb fan as well. It was one of the earlier Batman kind of like graphic novel collected editions I picked up a while back, and I just loved it. I think All-Star Superman. This might, I don't know if this is controversial or not. I almost feel All-Star Superman will like maybe hold up the test of time a little better as a standalone graphic novel. I'm trying to think about that statement all the way through. That might not even. Yeah, I'll stay with that. I feel like there's a lot of people that would argue All-Star Superman, and it's almost like I'm not going to say they're wrong. I would pick Batman Hush because of my own preferences, but I think that those are both so solid, and I think that you can have I feel like you could have such a complete experience with All-Star Superman that checks so many boxes in one collection. Batman Hush, kind of like Long Halloween, you get introduced to so many of the Batman villains. You have a great comprehensive story. But I feel like that is one that, while new readers can read it, I do think it rewards longer-term fans because they snuck so much stuff into Hush. You know, like all the stuff. Yeah, anyway. But
I also feel, though, that like, so we're both YouTubers and we've both done top 10 lists. I would always put absolute All-Star Superman on my top 10 list of Superman. But if you were doing like a where to start with Superman, I almost don't know if All-Star Superman is where you should start as a new Superman reader, because it, as much as you can read that and have an amazing experience, I feel like it's also like, I don't know if it should be your first Superman experience. You know, I feel like Birthright or For All Seasons or
Secret
Origin, like those ones to me, because I just feel like that, like knowing all the influences of All-Star Superman and what it represents, I don't know, but I almost feel the opposite for Hush, because like,
totally fair.
I think All-Star Superman has more to say than Hush does. Hush to me was, let's have Jim Lee. Let's write an excuse to have one of the best comic book artists of all time draw every Batman villain. You know what I mean? But I don't think
that's well said. The substance argument, I think, is well said. And that's why I think when I made the comment of like, I think that All-Star Superman might hold better against the test of time a bit as a standalone graphic novel, I think you hit it on the head with my thought there is the substance thing. I think that Morrison imbued All-Star Superman with a bit more depth or layering, I would say, maybe than we got in Hush. And that's not to disparage Hush. Like I said, I love it. I would still personally choose it. But I think that that's really well said. I definitely agree with that myself as a reader.
I think I got where you were, what you were trying to say. And I'm glad we came to it together, because in no way is saying that Hush is more of like a popcorn blockbuster a disparaging comment. They're just different vehicles for different emotions, you know? Like
go ahead,
no, I think it's great. I think at this point I'm just gonna get every compact edition, but I haven't done a follow-up. My first compact edition video blew me out of the water because it did so terribly at first, but now it's been growing every couple days. It gets like I think it's up to like 12,000 views or something, which an overview of a $10 book getting 12,000 views on my channel is unheard of. So
that's awesome. That's going to pay for those compact editions. You could just
well, also I want to highlight this comment really fast. What's cool about this is I'm not going to go into a comic book shop and buy this at cover price, right? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go to OPB and I'm going to get it for half off, right? But this I bought at cover price at an LCS, and that was a fun feeling. But I'm sorry that, first off, I'm stoked, Ranger, that you went to a comic book shop. That's amazing. I know it can seem intimidating. That is why us YouTubers make where to start lists. So I would ask you, what is your 2 or 3 favorite characters? And we'll try to help you figure out what you should get at that comic book store. So if you're still watching, tell us who you like, and we'll try to help you out.
I have a question, if you don't mind, Jake. I don't want to steer this, but you actually,
you're a co-host.
When we talked about Hush and All-Star Superman, it made me want to discuss with you. I haven't really talked about this with anyone, but I've always been so curious where you land on this, or where people land on this. As comic book YouTube content creators, I sometimes, like you said, are doing these for new readers or where to start kind of stuff. But I find myself in this dilemma of, what do we choose when they're kind of some of the like definitive best ofs that might be accessible to new readers or might not? Does that make sense? Like, so All-Star is a perfect example where I think it's one of the greatest Superman stories of all time. Like, I'd say it's probably on my list of top 10, top 15, period, right? I think it's a great experience. But you're making the argument that it's not overly accessible to new readers, and I totally get it. I
think it is, but it's also, there is some layer to it that is influenced by Morrison's love of Superman comics of the past. So sorry, I'll let you finish your question. But what I think,
you're good.
What I try to say is that my first comic book of all time, my first collected edition, was Final Crisis, which is the worst, the absolute worst first comic book. But on the cover was Superman holding a dead Batman. So how was I not going to pick that book? That book had the coolest cover at the Barnes and Noble or Borders that I was at, right? So I feel like you could make the argument that any comic book, almost any comic book, maybe not Morrison related, but almost any comic book could be on both the best of and the new reader. But it just depends on, but the thing is, people always have their own opinion. So for instance, I love Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol run. I think it's a wacky case of characters and it stands on its own. You don't need to have other context going into it. I actually think it's Morrison at their most accessible, but some people would never think to put Morrison on a first-time reader list. So I had a similar thought with Nightwing. So my first Nightwing comic that I ever read was Tim Seeley's Nightwing Rebirth run. That was the first Nightwing comic I ever read. Now, 7, 8 years later, I just did a huge Dick Grayson read through for my most recent video, and I finally read Grayson, which was the run that predated Nightwing Rebirth. And then I realized that so many Grayson characters popped up in Nightwing Rebirth. So I got more context going back to it. So you can read a comic and not get everything and still have an amazing experience. and then you can go back with more context, read it again, and have a wildly different experience. And I think that's what makes certain comics amazing. So, for instance, where to start with Batman, I might put Detective Comics number 27 or Batman number 1 on a where to start, because if that's what you're into and you want to start from there. But I don't know if I would put that on a best of Batman video, you know. So I think it really just depends. But certain comics, like for instance, like Final Crisis, I didn't know enough to not know what I didn't know that I didn't know or was missing out on when I read, you know. And and then I think there's a period of my reading journey where I got obsessed with encyclopedia reading, which is like I can't read Teen Titans until I have all 5 Omnis, and I have to read them sitting down straight and not read, and then that just burns you out, you know. So it is okay to read something and not know, and ask a friend or do a Google search or just keep reading. So I think I feel more passionate about like what something's best of than where to start, because you can really start anywhere, you know. That was a long answer. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk so much.
You're good, man. You're good. I think that you kind of helped me shape this a little better in my head. I think one of the reasons I'm vocalizing this question is it comes up a lot for me on my channel when I do these top 10 or new reader kind of stuff, because inevitably I'll have people in the comments that talk about, well, this is why I don't think that's good for new readers, or how is this not on the list kind of stuff, which is going to happen forever. And honestly, it's a great way to get even more recommendations, or kind of like get critical about why I like these things or why I would put them on a list or not. But it's sometimes still hard for me. Like, for example, I really stand by thinking that House of X, Powers of 10 is a great place to start reading X-Men. But I've had a lot of people bring some valid points of like, that's an awful place. Like, you need to know so many characters before you can enjoy that. And I think my philosophy was more of like, when I say new reader friendly, I'm saying this is a good on-ramp. You know what I mean? It might not be the completionist or kind of best scope, but this is a smooth on-ramp to get into this world, this franchise, these characters. And so maybe I need to frame it like that. Like, what are on-ramps? You know, or another one. Way to say it. Another one I get sometimes when I do Batman, for example, a lot of people comment that I leave off The Dark Knight Returns as a good starter Batman book. And in my mind, I'm sort of like, that's like a great last Batman story, you know, but I think the argument is so valid. And honestly, Dark Knight Returns was one of my earliest Batman, like, graphic novel collected editions as well. And so I kind of get the argument where I'm like, this is a quintessential milestone Batman work that helped revolutionize this whole industry, certainly this character. And even though, it really helps if you know a lot of that character before that point, after that point, what he stands for, stuff about superhero comics, I do think it reads great by itself with very little context needed. But I go back and forth with it. You know what I mean? Like, I get a lot of debate on both sides of that. And so when I think about this question, I'm thinking about it through the terms of, when I'm saying it's new reader friendly, what do I really mean? Or how do I define that list? Because do I need something that's so basic that you don't need any kind of awareness of it? Because then I'm going back to issue 1s, you know? But where are those on-ramps, you know?
Let's I do have a question from one YouTuber to another that I want to ask you, but let's hit up Ranger first, because we want him to go back to his comic book shop. So if you're looking for Nightwing, not to plug my own channel, but I just did a where to start with Nightwing. And my question that I want to ask you, and we'll finish Rangers first, is, have you noticed a performance difference between best of and where to start? Because I traditionally do 10 best Superman, 10 best Batman, and I didn't know for Nightwing. Nightwing was the first time where I did 10 books that were they could have been best of, they could have been where to start, and everyone was just like, yeah, that's basically all the pertinent Nightwing stories. You know what I mean? Like, Nightwing's not like Superman or Batman where there's 100 amazing runs. So it was less of a conversation, as more just people going like, yeah, those were basically the 10 most important, you know, like, so for Nightwing, you could start with Nightwing Year 1, which is going to be there's Nightwing Year 1, there's Robin Year 1, but Robin Year 1's been out of print for a while. It is coming back later this year in a box set, a paperback box set with Batgirl Year 1, but it is a 6-issue book on where to start Nightwing.
A dual paperback of Batgirl and Robin Year 1 right here. This is out of print, but this one's awesome.
Wait, so that's awesome. I thought that was a completely different book. I saw that online the other day. And then Nightwing by Tom Taylor is a phenomenal place to start. And absolutely love Nightwing by Tom Taylor. If you like older style art, Chuck Dixon's Compendium, which is this one right here, is a tremendous value. So you get this much Nightwing story, and I think you can get this book for like $30 on Organic Price Books or something, or in stock trades. So Nightwing is awesome. I don't know much about Spawn. Batman, I'm sure, like, I have my top 10 list. I'm sure you probably have a top 10 or where to start, right? Yeah. Wait, didn't you just do a where to start Batman short?
It's very possible. If not, I have one coming out soon. Some of these I do cyclically, and I'll refresh every few months.
I remember just seeing someone like complain that you didn't list off all these Batman books, but it was like a 60-second short.
Yeah, no, I sent you that in our our group message. But no, that short, that was one of my first shorts I did like almost 2 years ago. Someone just like found it and commented today. That was what that one was.
Flash is probably, besides Batman, the most well collected DC character. Like, we almost have like at least volume 1s of like post-crisis Flash. So I think the Rebirth era is a good place to start for Flash, which gets confusing because Flash Rebirth is a run that's not Rebirth Flash. So the Rebirth run of Flash by Joshua Williamson is great, and I think the Mark Waid place would be fun to start. But it depends, which Flash do you want to read? That's going to be a passionate video if I do where to start Flash, because
Jeff Johns is my favorite place to start Flash personally. And for Nightwing, I would also shout out, if you can't find those other runs, I honestly like the New 52 run quite a bit by Kyle Higgins. That's another one I would shout out.
That omnibus is getting reprinted next year.
I want to jump on that so fast, honestly. That's a huge get for me.
So I read the first couple trades of Nightwing New 52. He was also kind of surly. Like, he wasn't as bad as Golden Age Superman, but I said in my video that he wore red and got a chip on his shoulder. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he was like a mood ring.
Yeah, right. Okay, so have you noticed any performance difference between a where to start and a top 10 list or a best of?
I haven't like broken into my analytics too critically on this, but just off the cuff from like kind of remembering, I would say anything that has 10 at the beginning does a little better.
Yeah.
I think for me, and whether that's the 10 best or 10 must read or 10 for new readers or 10 places to start, usually that does a bit better for me than where to start or these must reads or whatever.
People love 10.
Same with 5. I've had some okay luck with 5, but 10 is like a nice, I guess, round number for the algorithm. You know, I'm not going viral or crazy on anything necessarily, but as like a kind of rule of averages, I would say anything that starts with 10 usually does a little better.
I tested it the other day and I did 5 amazing Superman stories and it did about half as good as a top 10 Superman video did. And it's just like, it's crazy. People like, and I was like, what if I talk about the stories longer? Because I had someone complain in a video because of course, but they were like, wow, you're not really saying much when you do 10 books and only talk about them for a couple minutes each. But it's like, it's what the video wants. It's also, I think in my mind, it's more work to read 10 books. Or not even 10 books. You read more than 10, but you pick 10. You have to do so much reading for those videos. But the video to me is easier to talk about 10 books for a few minutes each than it is to do a video where you talk about one book for 10 minutes.
100%. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. And why I like that is the more books I read, I can pull from them from memory for top 10s. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm going to do a top 10 video. I'm going to reread all 10. It's like, hey, I've read these over the course of whatever. Maybe I'll flip through to refresh my memory, but I can pull these 10, film it. And at this point, like I know the exact shots I'm looking for. And to do 2 minutes on any given book is like, you know, versus last night I filmed a review that's probably not going to come out on my channel for a couple of weeks, but I finished the Daredevil Shadowland omnibus.
Nice. And I talked about that's that book on my stack of shame.
I talked for 25 minutes or so about that book, you know, and it wasn't difficult, but like that's definitely more time intensive on my end than the 2 minutes on 10, you know.
And if your channel's any similar, if your channel's at all similar to mine, you put your heart and soul into a long single book review and you talk about it for so long, and then those videos do terrible compared to like top 10 Wonder Woman books or something like that. Like people, I don't know what it is. It's like maybe people feel like they can't watch that single review until they've read the book or whatever it is, but they seem to be like, this guy really wants Marvel to do compact comics. I agree. They are very accessible. This is an interesting question though. Grayson feels better. I think Grayson feels better than New 52 Nightwing, but I wouldn't say, like, I wouldn't, if you were only to start with one Nightwing book, I don't know if Grayson is what I'd recommend, because that's more Dick Grayson than Nightwing. And what up? It's our friend Day Day.
What's up?
This might be a question for you. Is Garth Ennis the best writer for the Punisher? I have read no Punisher. He's also a bit surly of a character.
So I generally steer away from books with nudity or sexual content. And my understanding is that the Garth Ennis run gets a bit explicit. So I personally have not read that yet. That being said, I've heard it's one of the most character defining runs on Punisher, but I can't really speak to that myself. I do a lot of
Garth Ennis goes crazy in his books, man. He pushes the envelope.
Yeah, I think the last Garth Ennis book I read was probably Batman Reptilian. I think that was Ennis, but I don't know. Yeah, it's been a while.
And then we got Blur Jose or Blur Josie. What did I miss? Hey there, Dom. Look at you. Your people are coming out of the woodworks to support you.
Oh, Blur Jose is the man. Day Day, all these guys. Day Day actually was one of the first people I kind of like made friends with on YouTube. He was so friendly, and I was watching his stuff a couple years back. Just really awesome dude. Awesome dude from what I've just interacted online. So what's up, Day Day?
I know he's just a well of positivity. He says,
yeah. If I ever need anything about the Hulk too, I check out his channel, or he'll pop up and have some great stuff about the Hulk, and honestly a lot of DC books too. I feel like I've gotten a lot of great DC recommendations from Day Day over the years.
I would say yes to Garth Ennis being the GOAT for writing Frank Castle. Humble opinion. And then on reviews, I struggle not wanting to spoil, but wanting to ramble about the book in turn because of spoilers. Yeah, I almost feel like if there's like a book, like for instance, if I was to do a top 10 list of Nightwing, and I've read this book before in the past, I almost feel like I do better just flipping through the book than just rereading everything, because sometimes you can have too much in your head. You can't accidentally spoil the book if you don't like. But then I don't know. It just depends. Sometimes I feel like you can over prepare for a video, and that shoots you in the foot, like, because there's so much that you want to cover.
Yeah, and I'll just do a spoiler warning at the front of my video, and then just go nuts. I'll just ramble.
That's gonna be liberating, dude.
It's so nice, man, because I can focus where I want. I can talk about things in the book I want. And I feel like there's people, not that there's not some demand for me to do non-spoiler reviews, but I just tell people my non-spoiler reviews are on organic price books. I don't do spoilers in those. I try not to do spoilers in my list videos and things like that, but my full reviews, I'm usually going to talk about the book. I'm usually going to go into it.
You should. That's what you're supposed to do.
And it's funny talking to you briefly. Oh, Dom of X, what's up? Talking to you. This is kind of just more like YouTube-y stuff. So sorry if we're getting a little more like.
Let's do it. We're both YouTubers. Let's talk about it. It's a weird thing.
But talking about like reviews versus like lists and best ofs and performance, I come to that crossroads quite a bit, because like my channel, I started just to do comic book reviews, and then once I started,
would you say comic book reports?
Yeah, exactly. They're comic book reports. That's how I kind of started, right? And then it wasn't until I got into like more of the YouTube subculture that I was like, oh yeah, like unboxings are a thing. I should do that. I tried one pretty early on. And then it was a while before I thought to do like a best of list kind of thing. And once I found that, I like loved it. It was so much fun. It was less time intensive in a lot of ways, and they performed better. But I have found that I think, and I could be wrong on this, but I also do polls on my channel every like probably month or so, saying like, hey, what are people enjoying the most out of my channel? And I find in those polls and also in comments and stuff, I wonder if my core audience are the people that sit through a lot of my reviews, or at least like scrub through them. Because I find similar people that engage on community posts and a lot of my content will also be the people that respond in my reviews, versus I think that I think that the best of lists and the top 10s and stuff, I think they're the wider net and they do better for me. And I honestly still really enjoy doing them. It's super fun to come up with prompts and showcase more books. But I do think that the reviews are the audience that is willing to like sit and watch. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's almost like the kind
of
base you're kind of cultivating. And I'm like, I think different areas have different strengths, you know, but I don't know.
And so you've done obviously way more reviews than I have. And that's because like when I do a poll, everyone says like, oh, we want more reviews. And then when I would do a review, it would underperform. And maybe I didn't stick with it enough. But I also feel like it's back to the absolute Superman thing. Reviews have a statement to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus like best of lists are usually, like you said, a wide net. So I would be interested to check your analytics and see returning viewers versus new viewers on a review and returning versus new viewers on a review. So you're probably right, dude. Your core audience wants the reviews, but also your core audience isn't dramatically what grows new subscribers because they're already subscribed. So it's almost like you're an actor and you have to do the huge, big popcorn flick, which is the top 10 list, the wide net that like, it's something that someone's going to Google. Who's going to sit down and Google, a specific, like super specific Garth Ennis Punisher review, you know, that happens maybe a little bit, but if you're going to search where to start the Punisher, that's that's an idea that's more searchable. And that's what it is it's designed to have people search a question. So I feel like I need to do more reviews, but I feel almost like I've waited too long to like really, you know, really push into them. But I'm also like, I came to a point where I realized what my audience wanted, I didn't want to give them anymore. So I got really into using hauls as a crutch. So I overspent, you know, and I'm not like one of those people on Facebook that like needs to sell off their whole collection, but I did spend more than I should have, you know. And I think that comes from being young and being married and not having kids and having disposable adult money for the first time. And you know, you justify it. I was like, oh, I'm helping out the channel, you know, but I had to eventually say, this is my last haul. I am done doing hauls. And when I get a box of books, I'm like, I'm tempted. I'm like, what if I do a coming out of retirement haul video? But I realized that, like, you know, I didn't want people, like, I literally had people say, this was awesome, man. This will be my last video because I just watched the hauls. And it was weird, you know? So that's why I've tried to come out with like different style videos. Like, I'm trying, because I almost feel like collected editions is such a specific niche that there's only so much that we can grow. Like, I feel like me and you are hitting the upper echelons of the collected editions community side. And the only way to keep growing is to start moving more into just general comics, you know? So like, something I was proud of in my Nightwing video was it was my first video that I talked about books I didn't own physically. Wow. So that was one that I was really proud of. I put up an image of the book. I said I read it digitally. I said it's out of print, but you can read it on DC Infinite. And if you want to learn how to read digitally, watch my video here, how to read digitally, you know? And that was liberating to me because so much I'm like, I'm feeling like if I don't have a physical book to show off, like, but people don't care. They just want to know about these cool comics, you know, and where to start. So
100%.
I definitely, like, everyone wanted hauls for me. And I had to eventually say, this is my channel. And same thing with the Dynamite stuff and the Ghost Machine stuff is that my audience is so niche. It's not even collected editions. It's DC collected editions. Like a Marvel video will struggle. So, but I said, you know what? I want to support Dynamite. I want to support Ghost Machines. And if I get less views now, that's fine. My bigger videos will make up for it. You know, like what you kind of got to do one for me, one for them. So be that actor, do the huge Hollywood flick, and then do the critical indie play on Broadway that you do just for yourself, you know? So
I think about that a lot. That kind of idea of like one for them, one for you. Someone in our like group message talked one time about like, they had 3 categories. I'm trying to remember what it was.
One of them was bangers, like, I think, right?
Yeah, what was it? It was like one of them that's like big, like, you know, is going to be like a huge hit regardless of your like want to do it. The ones that are kind of straight down the line, maybe, or something, or like the ones that are like you're passionate about. And then there's the ones that like deliberately grow an audience base that's like whatever, right? So it's like, you know, you'll have your ones like your hauls or your top best lists that you know are going to be like, these are going to be a heavy hitter for my channel, right? Then there's like your personal passion project that this might not get a lot of views, but I put a lot of time into this, a lot of heart into this. I kind of did this for me, and hopefully some people will find it that enjoy it. And then there's the kind of like, hey, we're doing a live stream right now to hang out and chat with people, right? Or hey, we're going to do more testimonial or stuff that just kind of grows that connection base. I think about that often. I also think about like, what is the general flavor I want my channel to look like? What's the brand I want? Like I talk to people sometimes when they ask me about the channel. I'm like, I feel like, and this might be an excuse, or maybe this means I'm not doing YouTube right, and that's fine. But like, I almost feel like I get the question of like, could I make a more successful YouTube channel? I think yes. I think yes, I could. Like maybe not in this niche, maybe not in the way I do anything, but with what I know about YouTube, like I think there are tips and tricks to do things that would just be more successful broadly and maybe more as a money-making thing. But I think I need to try to keep grounded with like, this is a hobby I really enjoy and something I'm passionate about. And like, I'm not looking for necessarily a second job that I could maybe get a better pay for that I would have to invest so much time into that I'm not passionate about versus this that, you know, like builds this awesome community or at least plugs me into this already awesome community online that loves the comics. But it's something I'm passionate about. Like I tell people, like this is something I would do for free and something I did do for free.
You did do for free,
like
and
for a while.
It's not like you're raking in the cash, but it's like I said tonight.
No, I get like
I
the
would have fun
now, which is fine, and I'm thankful for it. But like, yeah, like I would do this for free because I love talking about this stuff. I was looking for people to share my interests because in my like regular day-to-day life, like no one around me really likes comic books and I really liked them and I wanted to talk to people about them. And that's why I started my channel. And that's something I think about often where, you know, in my videos, I'll often say like, hey, comment some of your favorite, whatever. Or like if I do a best of or some kind of prompt, I'll be like, hey, what are some of yours though? And I still troll the comments just looking for recommendations for myself. Like I'll have 2 or 3 people that talk about the same book. I'm like, oh, awesome. I'll look that one up because I just want to like, you know, I want to enjoy comics. I want to talk to people about them. I want to, you know, I don't know.
I love that, man. I honestly like, I think I like comments more than views, you know, which like for me, because I literally have made a commitment to respond to every every positive or, you know, even negative, but as long as they're not hateful, which I almost never get, you know, but I respond to every comment. And that to me is just because I realized that at a certain point, it doesn't matter if my subscriber count gets bigger if I'm not actively building the community. So that's why like I was so like early on, I was like, I need a Discord and I want to do these live streams and I want to give people a chance to like, actually chat with me. Okay. So we got about 15 minutes. Let's try to go through some of these chats really fast. I love me some Jake too. I do love me some Jake. And then Nightwing books. What story arc would make a fantastic Nightwing animated movie? I think year 1 would be great. And the Nightwing Rebirth run better than Batman, where he's undercover with the Court of Owls and he has the Talon. He has the guy named Raptor, and I thought that was fun. What about have you read much Nightwing?
I've dabbled. You know, I've read parts of the New 52. I read Grayson, which we talked about is not like totally Nightwing. I read a little bit of Chuck Dixon. I've been reading Tom Taylor. You know, I'm trying to think of what I would like to see adapted directly. It's a little tougher for me. I don't know. Part of me likes the New 52 run because that goes into like his past. We get stuff with him,
with like the circus.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. Honestly, I think I kind of go back to that, which seems crazy. Because part of me thinks Grayson would be awesome. I love spy thrillers, but that's again.
I don't know if I want Grayson I don't know if I want Grayson as an animated movie, but I want it as like a TV show because it had like an old school spy vibe to it. You know,
that's a really good point. And again, we get to the point where like this is more Nightwing or this is more Dick Grayson than Nightwing. You know, but like if we're doing that, there's a ton of stuff in Teen Titans. I think would also be fantastic. You know, some they have already adapted, obviously, but.
I went back and forth because I had stuff on my Nightwing video that wasn't Nightwing, that was like Grayson, or I had Robin Year One and other stuff. But I was like, I don't want to call the video Where to Start with Dick Grayson because I feel like that's not gonna like Where to Start with Dick it's probably gonna get me blacklisted as like an adult video or something.
Nightwing or Robin would probably be the better way. I think you made the right choice.
Yes. Grayson does have an Omni. It was reprinted this last year. I believe it's still in print, and it has, what's the artist on there? I forget the artist name, but the artist is incredible.
Mikkel Janin, right? Yeah.
Yes. It is incredible art, and it was written by both Tim Seeley and Tom King. And you get like 2 different flavors, but they tell a cohesive story about basically all you need to know is something happened where Nightwing's secret identity is outed to the public. He's presumed dead. So he goes undercover into Spiral as a undercover agent to take them down from the inside. And there's double, triple, quadruple crosses. You get the Huntress as like a cool spy. And he fights Midnighter, who's a character from the Authority that's almost a parody of Batman, but not in like a jokey parody, but like he's like a satire of Batman. So I always think it's fun when Nightwing is paired with characters that are Batman-esque.
Midnighter's appearances in Grayson were all fantastic. Every time he showed up in an issue, I was like, this is going to be a good issue. Like he really punched out he stole every scene he was in. It was pretty good. But,
and I'm glad I read that after I read The Authority and some other stuff. But before we have to get going, where can they find you?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So my name's Dominic. If I didn't say that, I think I like spelled it out. Where is it? You can find me at the Comic Book Report on YouTube. That's like my main hub. That's like the main thing. I think all the other social medias are kind of my satellites around the YouTube channel. So if you like stuff from me, like I said, I do top 10 lists, new reader friendly kind of stuff. I even had a bunch of people wanting more shorts, so I'm trying to do some more shorts, comic book reviews, things like that. So you can find me at the Comic Book Report. I do have an Instagram. I am the Comic Book Report 2.0. My first one got kind of hijacked by Meta. It was a real sad day. So Comic Book Report 2.0, that is me on Instagram. I have a TikTok, I think I have something on Twitter or X. Anyway, yeah, I'm around.
All the socials.
Yeah. I'd say YouTube and Instagram are probably the ones I frequent the most, but yeah.
There's just too many. I've tried to do all of them before, and then you start doing them less good. It's better to just like focus on 1 or 2.
Yeah, man. Like I have a Threads. I still don't understand that. I have a Pinterest. I thought Pinterest would be this great untapped market in our niche. And it turns out not at all, but I stopped using it. But I do have a Pinterest account for Comic Book Report.
And if you do want to pick up Grayson, remember to do so at Organic Price Books. They are buying 1 or 3 books. You can save $2 with Brave Boys or 4 more with Braveboyssit. And we got Ranger saying definitely going to check you out. Yeah, awesome. Honestly, man, you pump out videos so fast, it makes me feel insecure about my own YouTube journey. But then I try to remember we have very different styles of videos. And
the quality of your videos are just amazing. Like the audio, the visual, the presentation, how you present everything. Mine.
Thank you, man.
I have room to grow, and I look at yours, and the editing and everything is just always so crisp. I feel like mine is kind of assembly line, but I do like it. It's fun. But no, dude, you're doing
you
awesome.
Come out with like every time I feel like I've done every top 10 list, you come out with like 3 more videos, and I'm like, I never would have thought about doing a father and son, list. But then I'm like, why didn't he do that for Father's Day? But you know what? Because you're with your family on Father's Day.
It psyched me out where I was like, is dropping a father-son best of comics list in August super odd? Like, will anyone watch this? Like, it makes sense on Father's Day. Is it weird to do it in August? But I looked on my shelf and I saw all these father-son books. I'm like, I want to talk about these. I don't talk about these books often. And so there it is.
And then I'm waiting for both of you for an overview discussion of the Hush Saga Omnibus. Is it worth buying? Is it double dipping? Sometimes I feel like I missed the boat on a video and then it's just not topical anymore. Like that. Yeah. I love Hush. I own it in probably more formats than anyone should. But I have not read the Omnibus yet. Did you read the Omni?
I do not have the Omnibus either. Yeah, I would totally review it. I feel like a lot of my reviews.
I have the Omni. I just didn't read it.
I'll grab books that I'll try to release to hit the algorithm that not a lot of people have posted on. But I'll sometimes grab books that are like so old or so oversaturated. But like, I want a shot at it. Like, let me be the 100th interview here or like review here, just because I just don't have that Omnibus personally. I'd love to someday. I heard it double dips a lot with the Paul Dini Omnibus.
It's like 35 to 40%, and I would say the better way to go from what I know is get the Paul Dini Omnibus, and if the Hush Absolute comes back, it's the Hush Absolute. But guys, this was awesome. Thank you so much for watching. You can find me if you're watching, you can find me on The Brave and the Boys. I forgot my YouTube name for a second. It's been a long day, okay? We're also on Instagram, TikTok, and we have a Discord. The Discord should be linked down below, as well as all of Dominic's links If I added, oh my god, I think I forgot to add. I'll edit it. I'll add them. So if you're watching this after the fact, they'll be edited in. So everyone, keep reading and stay brave. Goodbye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
And